Solve the following equations for the variable. So we're just solving for x. So if I'm solving this for x, what do I move over first? Do you remember? The 18. Do I add the 18, subtract the 15, multiply it, or divide it? All right, so plus 18 and plus 18. So we're going to add 18 here. We're going to add 18 here. So you're left with 2x equals 18. What should we do now? Divide by 2. So x has a value of 9. All right, what's the opposite of squaring? Do you remember what the opposite of squaring is? The opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. What would be the opposite of squaring a number? It would be called the square root, all right? And you see it on your calculator. If you press the yellow button, if everyone can turn on their calculator, let's go to a new document. Don't save anything. So now that we know where it's at, we'll take the square root of 100, take the square root of x squared, take the square root of 100. So what do we get when we enter 100 in that calculator? 10. All right, square root of 100 is 10. So then we would get x equals 10. All right. Now, the thing I want to talk about the x squared though is if I'm looking for a measurement, you always want to take the positive value, but when you're taking the square root, technically you have two answers here. You have a positive 10, but you also have a negative 10, right? If I take it back and I plug it in here, 10 squared, 10 times 10 is 100. Then if you take negative 10, what's negative times a negative? A positive, and 10 times 10 is still 100. So you're going to be seeing today that when we take the square root, we're going to be getting two answers, both the positive and negative value of whatever that number is, okay? All right, so let's kind of recall what we did before break. Do y'all remember what A is considered? What is A considered to be? What is this called? The line of symmetry, good, or the axis of symmetry. So the axis of symmetry. So the axis all right, what is B considered to be? The x-intercepts. What's another word for x-intercepts? Do you remember? Solutions. Good. So x-intercepts. These are solutions. What else are they called? Zeros. And there's one more. They're called roots. Okay, so they could ask you any of these four. Just know what you're looking for. And then the last thing we're looking at here is the, what's this called? The vertex. All right, now we know all these values, right? Where is the vertex located at? At what point? It's located at 1, and then how many down? Good, so the vertex is at 1, -7. So the vertex is at 1, -7. Once you know your vertex, you also know your axis of symmetry. Where is the axis of symmetry at? It's at the 1, remember. It's this line right here. And that's hitting always at the x value, so x equals 1. Where are the solutions at? So he says -4, so I'm going to write -4, 0. And what's the other one? Where's the other one at, Brock? -4, 0. The other one is at 6, 0. Good. Let's see. We also know if this is a maximum or a minimum. Is this a maximum or a minimum point? The vertex. It's a minimum point. And then the value is always the y value there on your vertex. The y value is 7, -7. All right? And then the last thing we can look at, and kind of recapping what we did before, what is the domain for all of your quadratic equations, quadratic graphs? all real numbers. And then your range, is range dealing with the x's or the y's? Do you remember? The y's. And then that y value from the vertex, that's where that number's going to also be used at. So it is -7. We just need to decide, are the numbers getting bigger or smaller with that range? Bigger. So it should be greater than or equal to. Good. So that's pretty much what the test will include. It'll include what we're doing today and tomorrow, and then all of those pieces there. All right, just to recap, the quadratic function in standard form is ax squared plus bx plus c. To solve a quadratic function is to find the x-intercepts or the solutions. Now, solutions, how many solutions do we have? What are the possibilities? Like this one has 2 solutions. How many other solutions could it have? Do you remember what our options were? It was 2. What else was it? I know a break will do this to you guys. It could also be 1. And it could also be 0, right? 0 is not touching the x-axis. 1 is touching the x-axis only once. And then if it touches twice like this one, then there are 2 solutions. When you write your ordered pairs, you're answering ordered pairs. This is just as a point. So if it says ordered pairs, you write it as a point. If it's a set, you're going to do these squiggly brackets. So it's just a squiggly line like this. And then you have your 2 numbers or whatever numbers you have, whether it's 1 or 2, and then you do the bracket again. All right, so we'll practice writing those out as well. All right, so one more time. To solve it, you're going to find solutions or x-intercepts. It could have 0, 1, or 2, depending on the graph. You're going to be asked for it in the form of ordered pairs or in the form of a solution set. So the first thing I'm going to do is solve this one. We're going to do it by graphing, but I'm going to show you how to do it by hand real quick. All right, so all you would do is you would move your number over. So the opposite of subtracting 1 is adding 1. And kind of stay in the same area I'm at on your notes as I am on my screen, okay? So here I have x squared. This cancels out, and I'm left with 1. What did we say the opposite of squaring is? Square root. So you're going to square root both numbers. Go ahead and enter the square root of 1 in your calculator. What do we get? So your answer is going to be 1 and -1. Now, it wants you to write this as an ordered pair. So your negatives always go first. You're going to write -1, 0, and 1, 0. Okay, that's one way to do it. I'm going to show you also how to see it on the graph, okay? So let's look at the graph. So on the graph, go ahead and pull up your graph. Pull up a new document. Once you have your calculator ready, what you're going to do is you're going to enter everything but the equal sign and the 0. So you're going to enter x squared minus 1. So just x squared minus 1. So x squared, and then just make sure minus 1 is in the same line as that x, not up here with the 2, down here with the x. All right, once you have it, press enter. All right, and if you look, you're just looking to see where it crosses the x-axis. It's crossing here at a -1, and it's crossing here at a +1. So those are your 2 solutions. All right, okay, let's try another one. All right, so let's try this one. Let's try entering this one. So in this one, let's enter x squared plus 1. So you're just going to press Control Dock, and then just go to the graphs, all right, and enter the new one. Let's do x squared plus 1. All right, where is it hitting at on the x-axis here? It is not hitting it, right? So does it have 0 solutions, 1 solution, or 2 solutions?
0 solutions.
0 solutions, right? So you're just going to write no solution. All right, go ahead and try the next one for me. Now that you graphed it, does this have 0, 1, or 2? 0. So this is another no solution. All right, let's try the next one. You enter it exactly as it looks. You never enter the equals. You only enter the equation, okay? So for your answer, you would just write -3 and then 0. Okay? Or that's the one you would select. All right, let's try the next one. Make sure not to enter the equal sign. Reminder, control doc, and then 2 for graphs.
When it says 4x, do we add a minus to the 4?
Yeah, just like this. So minus 4x. And then minus 5. All right, what are the answers for this one? What'd y'all get? Emma, what'd you get, Emma? Okay, just kind of look where it's hitting the x-axis. So this one's hitting here at what? What number was that? Sorry. 1. Positive or negative 1? Negative. Good. So -1, 0. All right, and the other one, Liam, where's the other one hitting? 5. So -1, 0, and then 5, 0. So this one had 2 solutions. It may just ask you how many solution it has. So sometimes your answer would just be 2 solutions, right? It could be just 2 solutions. All right, and then the last one. This one, you cannot graph this until you have a 0 on one end. So you're going to add the 25 to this side. So you have x squared equals 0. All right, so we're just going to enter x squared. Mind you, this is the parent function, right? So control dot, graphs, and we're going to enter x squared. All right, how many times did that one hit? How many solutions? 1 solution. What point is it at? 0, 0. All right, there's your answer for that one. Before we do the graphs, let's do these 2 by hand. So all you would do here, since the t squared is already by itself, all you have to do is square root it. So can y'all square root 16 for me? So just the square root of 16. Four. But mind you, what did I say? There were going to be how many answers here? 2. So t is not just equal to 4, it's also equal to -4. Now you're going to write these as a solution set. When you do your solution set, you just write the numbers, but you have to write them from smallest to largest. So just -4, 4. All right, let's try the next one. Again, it's k squared equals 49. The opposite of squaring is square rooting. So what's the square root of 49? 7. If we have 7, we also have -7, right? So your solution set is -7, 7. Now, you could graph it just like we had been. If you prefer the graphing, you can do the graphing. We just want to make sure everything is always on this side. So let me just show you what you would do here. If you were doing this one, just so you have an example, you'd have to move the 49 over. So what's the opposite of a positive 49? A -49. You'd have to subtract the 49 to this side. And then your equation would be k squared minus 49 equals 0. And then you would just graph this piece, which is exactly what we have on this side. On this side, this is how you want it to always look when you graph. Never like this. So if it looks like this and you're wanting to graph it, you can move the 49 over and then graph that expression or that equation there, okay? All right, on the calculator, let's go ahead and graph this piece here. So open up a new document. The only thing you need to make sure you do is that if there's other letters, you just have to change them to x's. All right, so graph this one. So x squared minus 36. So x squared minus 36. How many solutions does it have? 2? All right, and if you notice, they should be the same numbers because they're squared. 'Cause that variable was squared. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So then this one should be +6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -6, +6. So -6, +6. So you can either take the square root or graph it. With these, with this one, I would just graph it. I wouldn't even, you could solve it. Let me show you guys what it looked like if we solved it real quick. So you would minus the 15. So just write it out just so you have it. We have 3d squared equals -15. And then our last step would be to divide by 3. So d squared equals -5. So from here, you would take the square root, but with the negative, it's not going to let you. So if you're solving it by hand and you get to this part here, and if you try to take the square root and if it doesn't let you, then go ahead and just graph it just to make sure we get the right answer. So let's graph that piece right there. Let's graph 3x squared plus 15, right? Because we cannot enter the d. We got to put an x. So let's do 3x squared, so control doc, 3x squared plus 15. All right, you don't see it, so where do we go to check? Menu, zoom, and we're gonna zoom out. You just wanna make sure it's not up on top anywhere, and there it is, see it? And just a reminder, just hit escape to get out of that function. So the reason we got stuck here, right, because it's not possible, it's because there's no solution. So even if you did it by hand and you got to this step and you're like, well, I can't do a negative, more than likely it's no solution. But you can always graph it to check. All right, let's do graphing on the last two. So can we graph this one the way it looks? No, this has to be a 0. Needs to be a 0. All right, that means we have to move it over. So -16 minus 16. We have 4y squared equals 0. All right, let's go ahead and graph 4y squared. Can we enter the y though? Can we enter the y?
No, you have to put an x.
You have to put an x, thank you. All right, let's enter 4x squared. So control doc. We're going to do 4x squared. All right, how many solutions does it have? One solution. Where is it at?
0, 0.
All right, so if you're writing this as an answer and it wants it as a set, you would just put 0. It's only one thing. That's it. All right, can I graph the next one the way it looks?
Yes.
Oh, we have to change what?
G to the x.
We just have to change the g to x. All right, so that goes in the calculator. Hopefully we're all trying this. I see some of us not trying.
Robert, try, Robert.
All right, so control doc,
There's 2 solutions.
and we're gonna do 2x squared minus 8. Again, always make sure that that 8 is the same length as that 2x, right? You don't want it up here. All right, how many solutions do we have on this one?
2.
2. What numbers are they?
-2.
-2 and
2.
+2. Good. And this is written as a set because that's what the direction said. You just have to read what the directions say. -2 and +2.